Well, welcome back to another day of Bible study as we are continuing on our journey through Honest Advent as we use this book by Scott Erickson as our guide. And so grateful that you are back with us for another week. And this is, believe it or not, this is the final week. It seems almost impossible to imagine that Christmas is almost here and Advent is almost over. If you would like to join us on the journey, you may feel free to do so over the next few days. You can download this book online and join us. This is actually an incredible book. It is not necessarily limited just to Christmas and to Advent season. This will be a blessing to you no matter when you read it during the year. And all of this is brought to you thanks, as I say every single time, by the generosity of each and every one of you who are a part of Christ Table. If you'd like to know more about us, the URL is right there, www.christtable.today. Sign up for our email list there, and please, please, please consider giving. And we have kind of adjusted our Christmas Eve plans just a little bit, and we'll be emailing out information a couple of times this week about that as we recreate what we were planning on doing for Christmas Eve. And for you to be a part of all of that is super simple. All you need to do is sign up for the email list at christtable.today, and we will make sure that you receive all of the information that you need in order to be a part of it with us. So let's dig in. As we come to the Christmas story, it is a beautiful and incredible story that just brings up all of the feels and all of the emotions in us. It's difficult for us to hear a child singing away in a manger and not come close to tears. It's not easy as we watch the Charlie Brown Christmas story for us to experience that and not be taken back to our childhood. Or maybe for you it's Rudolph or Frosty the Snowman or Elf or one of those other Christmas traditions that each and every year take us to a place emotionally. That place obviously is Luke chapter 2, because we find there the birth of Jesus Christ that we are about to celebrate here in just a few days. Luke chapter 2 verse 11 is the foundation of our study for today. Today, in the city of David, there has been born for you a Savior who is Christ the Lord. It seems as though whenever we come to this idea of the birth of Jesus Christ, that we spend a lot of time telling all of the story up and leading to the birth, and then we kind of skip over that labor part and jump right to everything that comes back after the birth. In fact, I didn't put this out this year because I actually sent it with one of the kids to put in their classrooms, and so it was enjoyed there. But this is a Charlie Brown Christmas Nativity that was given to us. And as I was looking through this is certainly one of my favorites just because I love Charlie Brown and Snoopy. And I don't know if those little guys, yeah, well, they'll sit on there. But, you know, you've got here Linus, who's playing the role of a wise man. And you have here, this is actually Sally, who is appropriately playing the role of an angel. And here is Lucy standing in for Mary in her role as Mother of God. Obviously, Charlie Brown right here is the role of Joseph. We have Snoopy. Who can forget Snoopy right here? He is a lamb. And last and surely not least, here is Woodstock. And Woodstock is not actually in this one playing baby Jesus. Woodstock is just peeking over the side of the manger there, looking at Jesus right there, laying, as away in the manger says, asleep on the hay. Though, as anybody who has had a newborn is aware of, there is not much sleep that happens whenever a newborn is around. I can remember the birth of our kids, and each and every one of the four of them was a different experience. And while everybody else remembers those wonderful moments whenever they were first introduced to the cleaned up baby, whenever I was able to come out of the delivery room while they quite literally patched my wife back together, I was able to show everybody the cleaned up, decorded, beautiful baby each and every one of those 4 times. None of the people who ever met our 4 kids remember anything but that first introduction or meeting them at some other point on the journey. Only Sally, myself, and the doctors and attendants who were in the room remember the moment of birth and what that was like. And frankly, because Sally was so drugged in order to take away the pain and the nausea that she was feeling, even she doesn't remember that moment. And I have to admit, though there's something magical about remembering the literal birth, the moment your child comes into the world, there are some things that I saw there that I would want to forget. It was magical and a miracle, but also extremely unpleasant, gross, disgusting. Our kids came into the world by C-section, and they put a curtain up, and I peeked up over the curtain once to see what was going on just before they pulled out the baby. And I don't know what all I saw, but pieces of my wife just laying everywhere, not in places they should have been. It was a miraculous and disturbing moment. This is a bit, I think, of what Scott Erickson and the picture that he provides for us in our Bible study today is trying to communicate, is that this idea of the birth of Jesus, God being with us, is messy. And Scott tells the story about the birth of his kids and how one of the things that isn't talked about a lot in birthing books is the excretion of fluids and excrement that oftentimes comes through those moments of birth. And I think, it is important for us to reflect on the fact that the birth of Jesus was not only was it also like all of the births that we've ever always had, but that the birth of Jesus also was messy, was gross. In fact, the title of the chapter in the study today is Goop, this idea of fluids. And as I look at these little figurines, which, whether it's the Charlie Brown Christmas story figurines or your nativity or creche, I would wager that they are sanitized. That this moment where God comes to be with us has been, in your nativity scene, made more palatable by the removal of elements that are likely unacceptable or controversial, or maybe a better word here is disgusting. That we celebrate the moment up to the birth of Jesus, and we celebrate the moment after the birth of Jesus, but the birth itself is not something that we think about much. There have been movies and books and moments that explore that in a small way, but it's not something that we really want to face. It's not something that we really want to think about, right? The goop, the fluids, the mess of life. But what we see through the details of the birthing process is that the Christ story is actually about a God who brings salvation into the world through all of those messy details. I once had somebody say to me about a particularly tough moment in my life, some things that I was facing. They said to me, sometimes the only way out is through. Sometimes the only way to get out of the difficult situation that you're in or that you're facing is to actually go straight through it. The only way out is through. And I love the thought that the only way for Jesus to get to us and provide salvation for us in a way that would resonate and that we would understand and that would be meaningful was for him to go through the birthing process, for him to go through the messy details of birth. Think about that for just a moment in your own life and the things that you're facing. Sometimes, perhaps, the only way out is through the messy details. It's through the goop. It's through the fecal matter that you face. And I love that Scott makes this just absolutely directly to us whenever he says Christ was born into the fecal muck of human biology, which we seem to wade through for the rest of our lives. I don't know what muck you may be facing today. I don't know if you're looking at a Christmas that is magical and that is miraculous, or I don't know if you're looking at one that is messy and mired in the muck of all of the things that are present in your life right now. I think that no matter what you face, though, we can say with assurance that God is with you, and he willingly chose to go through what is one of the most disgusting processes in the world, the birthing process. And I say disgusting because I'm a queasy guy. You don't want me around if there's blood or any of those things. I'm just going to pass out and faint. To me, all of those things are disgusting. All of those things are difficult. I don't want to face any of those things. But sometimes we don't get to choose what we face. That's what Sally said to me. She said, you don't get to choose whether or not you get to be in the birthing room. You will be there with me, even if you're there with me on the floor passed out. You will be there with me. We don't always get to choose the things that we face, but God chose to go through the birthing process in order to be with you. And I don't think that ends with a manger scene 2,000 years ago. God still chooses to be with you and I, with us, through every fecal moment that we face, through every messy detail, through every seemingly godless goop that comes into your day. He chooses to be with you. You are not alone. The promise of God with us, the promise of Emmanuel, is not just a one-time event. It's each and every day. God with us. God with you. Until tomorrow, happy reading.